All right, Bobby, speaking about Buick, here they go. All right, as qualifying for the top group is now underway. Final day of qualifying here in Vancouver. Bobby Unser speaking about engines as we look at yesterday's leading qualifiers. And again, those results on a wet, rainy track. It'll be much different, much faster today. But they were talking about the Buick engine. I hear all kinds of rumors that Buick will have a much improved engine in 1992.
Well, we're certainly hearing those rumors, and the rumors that I hear obviously are telling me that it's going to be a sister engine to the Chevrolet that exists now that we hear so much about. And it will be turbocharged. And it will be a 4-cam engine and not a rocker arm engine like we know John Jones is running.
So in other words, it's going to be a big sister, a much improved engine. Where do you think it would go? What cars possibly next year, as we look at Bobby Rahal with a Chev, would drive this new Buick engine?
Well, the rumor mill again is all we have at this point in time, Brian. A rumor mill says who other than Roger Penske is going to have it, changing possibly from a Chevrolet to a Buick. How do you like that for a good rumor?
Well, it's a good rumor indeed, and if Penske's interested, you know it is going to be one fine engine. This is Bobby Rahal. Bobby Rahal, 11th fastest in qualifying yesterday, down through the start-finish area, and this turn number 1, which is much, much faster. In fact, we were watching the slower group of cars practice about 20 minutes ago, Bobby. They were not even downshifting as they came here onto Pacific.
I haven't seen one either medium fast or fast car that's downshifted going into turn number 1 so far in the drive. The guys are going through there probably 30, some cases 40 miles an hour, where a guy has good power, faster than they did last year, Brian.
And through that chicane up under BC Place Stadium, this is what they call a very anxious part of the racetrack for the drivers. Anxious because their visibility is limited. They can't see that far ahead. There is the chicane wall as they go into the second chicane. Bobby Rahal will see how his time stacks up. Mario Andretti was fastest of the first group or slower group of qualifiers that have already been out today.
Now watch when they go through under the tunnel again, which we'll see some more pretty soon, Brian. I want the folks to watch and notice how dark it is. Not only is the visibility where you can't see very far ahead because you're in a constant turn, but it also gets dark in there. And I think going from light to dark and then back to light with the eyes is a little bit difficult also.
Rahal only 17th fastest with that run. This is the fastest portion of the track. Over 180 miles an hour down Pacific South into the hairpin turn number 3. Bobby Rahal, the points leader, as we're now on board with Al Unser Jr. onto this very straight and very fast area down by BC Place Stadium. He'll now be over 180 miles an hour, and then they'll gear down and go through that hairpin. That's John Andretti in front of him. Rahal is the points leader this season. Michael Andretti second in the points. Al Unser Jr. is third. There's John Andretti, followed by car number 1, the defending champion here in Vancouver, Al Unser Jr., coming off a win last Sunday in Denver, Colorado. There's that area.
There's where it's dark. You can see how the car goes through there, and it gets dark, then back to light again. They went from light to dark to light again. That's really difficult when you figure they're doing 160 at least miles an hour through there.
Very, very hard on the drivers. On board with Al Unser Jr. as we come down through the new turn 10 into that hairpin. Al Unser Jr. pursuing John Andretti. John Andretti winning the opening race in Australia. Al Unser Jr. a winner in Long Beach, California, and last week in Denver. Unser through this very quick turn number 1. You see the right hand didn't even come off the steering wheel. No changes at all.
Now he shifted into 5th gear as he goes right down the straightaway. Or if the guys have 6-speed transmissions, Brian, they'll go to 6th gear. At any rate, they'll go to top gear right there.
All right quickly, let's go down to Sally Larvik with Mario Andretti. Sally?
Yes, Brian, you were talking about Mario Andretti, and now he is actually watching this session, the session that he would normally be in. And this has got to be an ironic change of events for you, Mario. I imagine you wish that you were out there, but you didn't do pretty badly in the first session.
Well, you don't have much of a reference, you know, obviously, but you still try to do the best you can. And, you know, I came away not totally satisfied with the balance of the car. You know, like I like to have a rerun type of thing, you know, but just one of those things.
You know, I think the fans would like to know why you are, or why you were in the first session, the slower session, instead of this session.
Well, yesterday, during the qualifying, my electrics just went away, and the car stopped after only 4 laps. So only, you know, at that time, my time was okay, but the rest of the session put me back to 14th.
Okay, compare the track now to the track earlier with the wet and the rain and going through the puddles.
Well, obviously, now you get some grip. You know, when the track dry, it's a lot quicker, and with the new configuration corners, it's really quick now. You know, they revamped first turn and back here. You know. So now all of a sudden you're really hanging on.
Okay, Mario Andretti watching with the rest of us. Back to you, Brian.
All right, Sally, Mario Andretti still has the fastest time. Michael Andretti has now turned in the second fastest, followed by Arie Luyendyk and Bobby Rahal. So Bobby Rahal is now 4th fastest. There is John Andretti, car number 4, driving for Texan Jim Hall. Car number 2 is Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti has the 2nd fastest time to his father Mario.
Yes, and just remember another thing. This is very early on. The track is all dry. You can look as Michael is going around there, Brian. The track is dry every place. They can take any line that they want to. So what they're going to do is they'll keep adjusting their cars. They have 30 minutes in this qualifying session totally. They'll make adjustments, and they'll continually go faster. So we'll just have to keep bringing everybody up on that.
Michael Andretti has won 4 races so far this season, and he now has taken the lead in qualifying. Michael Andretti with that last lap, and he spins. Michael Andretti spins after turning in the fastest lap so far. No problems as he is underway again. Michael Andretti, a 4-time winner this year.
Well, if you're going to have a spin, that's the way to have it. But look at the tire. He's got a right rear tire that's flat, so obviously he punctured a tire, went down in there, and that's what caused the spin. Now he's got to drive back on it. That really isn't good on the car. Certainly going to ruin the wheel. But of course, ironically, he did the same thing at Denver last weekend, drove all the way around, didn't ruin the car.
Michael Andretti, a winner at Milwaukee, Portland, Cleveland, and of course Toronto. And last year here, Michael Andretti had the pole position.
Now as he's coming into the hairpin turn, you can see the rear end just totally lost its grip. Look at the right rear tire. It is flatter than a pancake. So what happens is that he just had a lot of bad weight or cross weight in the chassis right there, Brian, and it's just spun real quick, and he probably didn't even know why at the time.
So it had nothing to do with the track conditions. It's hard to believe, Bobby, as Michael Andretti comes into the pit still with the fastest time in qualifying so far with that flat tire. Yesterday, this track was virtually a lake. They were on rain tires. Today, though, it is bone dry and very, very fast. As we look at Michael Andretti, he is our current qualifying leader, followed by Father Mario, Arie Luyendyk, Bobby Rahal, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and John Andretti. There is Arie Luyendyk, the Indy 500 champion from last year, pursuing Bobby Rahal. Luyendyk has the 3rd fastest qualifying time so far, and there's a great story here. It reflects the general condition of kart racing, Bobby Unser, in that Luyendyk, in spite of the success of win at Phoenix this year, is having trouble getting sponsorship.
Well, they are, and it's kind of sad. But, you know, it's always hard to get a sponsorship in the middle of a season or after a season starts. For example, the time to get next year's sponsors are right now. You figure July, August, and September. Anything after September doesn't really happen. So they're sponsorless right now, and you'll see that Arie is trying extra hard. The team, which is Vince Granatelli's team, is a good team. They're really got their act together, but the problem is they really don't have a lot of money right now.
Down through turn number 3, Arie Luyendyk pursuing Bobby Rahal. Rahal with the 3rd fastest time is the kart points leader with a win at the Meadowlands, only 1 victory in 1991. He leads Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. in one of the tightest overall races ever. Into the 2nd chicane, Arie Luyendyk. Luyendyk has now dropped down to 4th in qualifying. It's still Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti, Bobby Rahal, Arie Luyendyk, Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Jr. Rahal through turn number 10 and onto the start-finish straightaway. Again, much faster. Bobby Unser pointing out maybe 40 miles an hour faster than last year as they swing down beside BC Place Stadium and onto Pacific at speeds well over 180 miles an hour.
Watch there as the car comes down the straightaway, the red car, Arie Luyendyk, and you'll see the vortices that come off the wing. Or you can watch all the race cars today when it's a head-on shot, and everybody can see the vortices coming off the wing, which is nothing different than a jet airplane leaving, and just as it starts getting close to clouds, it's a vapor. It's turning, but it's the way that you can really see what the wings are doing on race cars.
Stay with us. We will return to Vancouver with coverage of final qualifying for the 1991 Molson Indy Vancouver on Sports Weekend right after this. So far, good weather and no rain. We'll be right back. As we come back to Vancouver, Scott Goodyear driving for Jim O'Donnell and Mackenzie Financial comes into the pits. You're on board with Goodyear. Now Goodyear in the rain yesterday, Bobby Unser, had the third fastest time in qualifying behind Emerson Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti. He is well down today, standing in the number 14 position. That is Scott Pruitt for True Sports. Budweiser coming down at more than 180 miles an hour on Pacific South. As we cover this final day of qualifying, Michael Andretti is in first place, but there is greater significance than that.
There certainly is. It is a new track record, but not only a new track record, it is a new track record by a long ways. For example, in time, he has run a minute 58.5 seconds. Last year, it was a minute 62, or over 2 minutes. That's a big difference.
A big difference indeed. Al Unser Jr., followed by Rick Mears, the Indy 500 champion. There is car number 1. Al Unser Jr., the defending champion, is now standing 9th in qualifying. Rick Mears has moved up to 3rd behind Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. Mario Andretti is now 4th, followed by Scott Pruitt, Arie Luyendyk, Emerson Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Eddie Cheever, John Andretti, and then Scott Goodyear.
Let me change it just a little bit on that, Brian. They've actually turned the track in less than 1 minute. The first time ever, they've turned it in less than 1 minute.
On board with Al Unser Jr. down the fastest part of this track. This is Pacific Boulevard, as he will come down from speeds in excess of 180 miles an hour down to about 25 or 30. That right hairpin now up the north side of BC Place Stadium. The cameras may break up. We'll try and stay with it, Bobby. Here's that chicane. They've widened. Now, imagine you're the driver. Look at the change in light. This is a very tough area. In fact, we're not going to be able to stay with it. We will try as they go through. He's now out of the stadium into the second chicane, but a very tough area for the drivers. Low visibility, bad light, and they can't see that far ahead of them.
But you can really see when you get in there how dark it goes on the driver's eyes right away. And imagine that again at, like, for example, 160 miles an hour, Brian.
Al Unser Jr. currently standing 3rd with 129 points. The leader is Bobby Rahal. Down through the start-finish area comes Al Unser Jr. to the south side of BC Place Stadium. Al Unser Jr., a winner last week in Denver, Colorado, and earlier this season in Long Beach, California.
Now, as we are at the onboard cameras, you can watch little Al watch his right hand when he does that. He never downshifted nor upshifted. In other words, he went down the front straightaway in front of us, took the number 1 turn in top gear, and all the way down the straightaway, probably getting near the rev limiter right at the end of that long straightaway.
Another big crowd here in Vancouver. Heavy rain yesterday, but it's held off so far today. It's actually rather pleasant, and they're now forecasting good weather for race day tomorrow afternoon. Again, the moisture coming off the rear wing, similar to when a jet airplane takes off, into the final turn and down through the start-finish area for Gallus Craco. Nearly losing it is Al Unser Jr.
Now you can just see how hard the drivers try. They just have to be on the verge. You look at the vortices coming off his wings there. You see it on the right side, the left side of the wing, the rear wing. But you can see how hard that they try. They just take the cars right to the bitter limit. Now right there in that particular case, so we just saw with little Al is he just broke it loose.
And Al Unser Jr. is now 3rd fastest. Michael Andretti, who spun and is in the pits with a track record, is the fastest, followed by Bobby Rahal, Al Unser Jr., Rick Mears, Mario Andretti, Scott Pruitt, Arie Luyendyk, John Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, Eddie Cheever, Hiro Matsushita, and now Scott Goodyear. So Goodyear, as Unser continues to have slippage problems with car number 1. Goodyear from Willowdale, Ontario, driving for Jim O'Donnell and McKenzie, was third fastest yesterday in the wet conditions with the rain tires, is having a lot of trouble today.
Talk about the speed today. We have 10 cars right now, Brian, that are under 1 minute around this 1.7-mile racetrack. Now that is fast.
You just saw that turn out of the start-finish area. Again, the moisture coming off the rear wing of Al Jr.'s car right now, more than 180 miles an hour. We rode this course yesterday, Bobby. You and I did with Wally Dallenbach, and he was saying they would take turn number 1 last year at maybe 90, 95 miles an hour. This year, it could be 140, even 150.
Well, it's very fast. For sure, it's going to be a good 30 mile an hour faster, but they didn't really go that fast. There's Michael Andretti into the pits right now. That's the pit entrance, a little bit different than last year. It's a nice pit entrance, a lot better than last year as far as the cars coming in. There's Bobby Rahal through the very fast number 1 turn.
Bobby Rahal now with the third fastest time, Emerson Fittipaldi. We have just been alerted on the computer that Emerson Fittipaldi has turned in the fastest lap. There's Rahal going by Ari Luyendyk in turn number 3. So Michael Andretti has dropped down to the number 2 position. Emerson Fittipaldi has the fastest lap. There is Emerson Fittipaldi following Bobby Rahal, and he has smashed the lap record by nearly 5 seconds. So indeed, it is much, much faster this year in Vancouver. Emerson Fittipaldi, followed by Bobby Rahal. Emerson Fittipaldi with 1 victory this season. That was June 16th, a road course in Detroit, Michigan.
Emo is a Formula 1 driver from days past. Very good at street racing. One of the most aggressive drivers that I've ever seen, driving Roger Penske's car. One of the best on the road courses. We'll see a lot of Emo during the race.
Down for the start-finish area comes Emerson Fittipaldi from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Fittipaldi was 6th here last year after starting from the number 5 position in 1990. Emerson Fittipaldi, you're looking at the fastest qualifier so far today.
Now, everybody should also realize that every lap that they're running around this racetrack is being counted. So, whereas Emo is fastest right now, he has to keep driving hard as he goes through one of the chicanes there. The reason being is that Michael Andretti, Little Al, Rahal, guys like this could just beat him at any lap because they qualify every lap on the racetrack.
As we look at Emerson Fittipaldi quickly, let's go down to Ken Daniels. Kenny?
Thank you, Brian. As Scott Goodyear's car departs the pits, he had some major work done, and they were working on the shocks and the suspension as well. Scott Goodyear saying that he really didn't get a chance to run on the dry track this morning because he hit the left rear tire, just scraped it along the wall, and they had to fix that, so he really didn't get a chance for a dry run this morning. He ran so well in the rain yesterday. I think they were praying for a little bit more rain today, so really this is their chance to work on the car. Brian?
Well, they're going to have to do something because we're on board now with Scott Goodyear. There's Emerson Fittipaldi. Goodyear is only the 13th fastest. Let me run down the fastest qualifiers for you. We're in the final day of qualifying here in Vancouver. There's the fastest car, Emerson Fittipaldi. He's pursued by Bobby Rahal, but the next fastest is Michael Andretti, then Al Unser Jr. Rahal has the 4th fastest time, followed by Rick Mears, Mario Andretti, Scott Pruitt, John Andretti, Eddie Cheever, Ari Luyendyk, and Danny Sullivan. Scott Goodyear, only the 13th fastest so far here Saturday after being 3rd fastest yesterday. There's Bobby Rahal. Rahal now with only the 4th fastest time for Gallus Cracos.
And still working at it. Remember now, they'll run a few laps, maybe 5 laps, come in, put another set of tires, use these tires for the race tomorrow, and put on another set of tires because the fastest one, or the newest tires, are always the fastest.
Bobby, as we take a look, and if we can stay with Bobby Rahal, he is the overall points leader, but you made an interesting comment to me at dinner the other night about Rahal so far this season. He needs to be what?
Well, he needs to be more aggressive. Now, Bobby has been fast all year. We all know that. He's been finishing really well. But the points battle is so close right now that just finishing well is not going to do for him. He has to become the aggressive Bobby Rahal that we're used to seeing the latter half of every season.
Bobby Rahal right now running in the number 4 position, and let's once again go down to Sally Larvik. Sally?
Okay, Michael Andretti, an extended stay in the pits. We're not sure exactly what the problem is. They were working on the right rear rear suspension and also working near the engine area. And Michael is sitting there. He was shaking his head a little while ago. You know, this is precious time for him, especially with Emerson in the front, and you know that he is anxious to get back out there. So we're waiting with Michael Andretti to see how long it will be before they get him out of the pits and onto the track again. Brian?
All right, Emerson Fittipaldi remains the fastest, followed by Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal, Rick Mears, Mario Andretti, and Scott Pruitt. This is Scott Goodyear from Willowdale, Ontario, and Goodyear still is only the 13th fastest in qualifying here today.
Lacks in horsepower. He's got that Judd engine. Next year, he gets one of the new Chevrolet engines. He's going to be a lot faster. Yesterday in the rain, for example, third quick. The boy was really working good in the rain, but the rain is the equalizer. Today it's dry. He needs horsepower.
New engines next year, and there will be some driver changes. We'll talk about those changes when we return. We'll return to Vancouver right now. There is your qualifying leader, the brilliant Brazilian, Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll return right after this. And on what has turned out to be a very pleasant Saturday afternoon here in southwestern British Columbia, I'm Brian Williams along with Bobby Unser, Sally Larvik, and Ken Daniels as we return to final qualifying.
Now these numbers that we read on the right-hand side are in seconds. Again, Brian, I just want to report that last year nobody ran down to a minute flat or less. Now, look at all the cars that are less than a minute. This shows everybody how much faster this racetrack is this year as opposed to last year.
There is Danny Sullivan. Danny Sullivan in the Alfa Romeo car number 20 driving for Pat Patrick, and I talked about driver changes possibly in 1992. Sullivan, Rahal, all kinds of rumors, Bobby.
Well, there certainly are. One of the things good, big news for next year is Alfa Romeo is leaving. They've not been very successful. It's been a prototype thing from the very beginning. It's been an experimental thing. They've not been able to make the horsepower. They've not been able to come up with speed. So they're leaving and leaving this man without a ride. Plus, Pat Patrick, who owns this team. If he doesn't get a Chevrolet engine deal or isn't able to buy one, it's going to put him out of racing. Now, that would be the guy that started CART. He and Roger Penske were the absolute originators. So there's a lot of rumors going around right now.
Down through the start-finish area comes Danny Sullivan for Pat Patrick. Sullivan was second here 1 year ago behind Al Unser Jr. Sullivan, though, is only the 11th fastest qualifier so far today. It's still Emerson Fittipaldi, followed by Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Rahal, Mears, Mario Andretti, Pruitt, John Andretti, Cheever, Lyondike, Sullivan, and Scott Goodyear has now moved up to the number 12 position. About 6 minutes to go in final qualifying.
That's Danny Sullivan we've been watching right there going under the tunnel, Brian, and you can see he is 11th place right now. That's too far back for Danny Sullivan, and especially on road circuits. He's quite good.
Danny Sullivan for Pat Patrick. Sullivan, of course, here last year drove for Roger Penske. Many people thought he could have won this race. He stopped for a splash of fuel. Penske was angry that Sullivan came in with a couple of laps to go, and Roger Penske actually left the pit area. Speaking of Roger Penske, here is Rick Mears, the Indy 500 champion. Now Mears is 5th fastest so far. Rick Mears never thought to be dangerous on a road course because of those leg injuries suffered many years ago in a crash at Saint-Air, Quebec. And he has trouble, Bobby, with the feet. The clutch, the brake, the constant shifting, a problem he does not face on a big oval like Indianapolis.
That's for sure, but he improvises very good. Rick is a multi-talented person, one of the most versatile people on the entire racetrack. He and Little Al, people like this can run ovals or road circuits. He was quite good on road circuits before he got his feet all messed up. But by the time this race is over, by the time we get around to tomorrow, I think that he'll end up being one of the faster guys, and he could very well win this race.
Well, as we look at Rick Mears, the Indy 500 champion, Michael Andretti is now shot back into first place. Bobby Rahal has now moved into second. Out of the hairpin comes Mears. Emerson Fittipaldi has dropped down to third. And how about this? Michael Andretti has gone under 58 seconds at 57.6 seconds. So with about 4.5 minutes to go in this final qualifying session, we look at Michael Andretti. Let me run down the standings for you. What an afternoon in Vancouver. Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal is second, Emerson Fittipaldi third, Al Unser Jr. is fourth, Rick Mears is fifth, Mario Andretti is 6th. Scott Pruitt is 7th. John Andretti is 8th. Eddie Cheever is 9th. Ari Luyendyk is now 10th. Danny Sullivan 11th, and Scott Goodyear in the number 12 position. John Jones from Thunder Bay qualified this morning and right now stands 18th.
We can watch Michael Andretti right there. He has been the most aggressive driver in the kart circuit this year from the start of the year till the end. He is just plain aggressive. His car is working good. His team is working good. He's just more aggressive than any driver in the entire circuit, and that shows how much confidence. Look at him lock up the right rear as he went to the turn. It's very seldom on a road circuit that you'll ever see a driver lock up anything other than the front brake. So he's really splitting his hairs, and obviously he's on the pole now. The only car down the 7th second bracket right now, Brian.
He has the fastest time, and he's pursued by Bobby Rahal. There goes Andretti into turn number 3. Rahal is all over him. Rahal, interestingly enough, is the 2nd fastest so far here today. Sally?
Okay, what was supposed to be a promising day for Eddie Cheever has turned out to be very disappointing. He has gotten out of his machine. They had some engine problems, and they brought the car in. They made some adjustments. They tried to start the engine. It started for a little while, and then it died on them. And that was it for Eddie. He got out of the car, walked over the wall, and now they're trying to figure out exactly what the problem is. So it's going to be a sad day for Eddie Cheever, Brian.
Eddie Cheever, Sally, currently standing in the number 10 position. There is Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti has 4 victories so far this season. Milwaukee, Portland, Cleveland, and of course Toronto, where he became the first pole sitter to win the Molson Indy Toronto. There's your defending champion, Al Unser Jr. Unser Jr. has now gone into the number 3 position behind Rahal and Michael Andretti.
That's 3 cars down the 57-second bracket. And remember, there's about 2.5 minutes left. Anytime, any one of these drivers that we've been watching are capable of jumping past Michael and getting on the pole.
On board with Al Unser Jr. down through the start-finish area. Watch the right hand. There is no gear shifting here. Last year at 90 miles an hour. This year at 140. Now up to 180 miles an hour. Al Unser Jr. is 3rd behind Rahal and Michael Andretti. And of course, there's Rick Mears. Al Unser Jr. pursuing Mears. Mears has the 6th fastest time. We have less than 2 minutes to go. 1 minute 57 seconds in qualifying.
Now little Al is caught in a bad position right now. He's got 2 cars ahead of him, running the air that he runs in. He's right behind Rick Mears. Rick is holding him up because Rick is running a little bit slower right now. Bad place to be in when little Al is trying to crank off a real fast one.
Well, the story in kart racing this year is Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, and Al Unser Jr. And Al Unser Jr. down into quarter number 10 goes by Rick Mears under braking. Al Unser Jr. and Mears tries to take him again, but does not. Down through the start-finish area comes Unser Jr., followed by the Indy 500 champion, Rick Mears.
Now that became more of a personal battle. This is qualifying, not a race, Brian. So that became a personal confrontation between the 2 of them, and they really put on some good racing.
Some great racing indeed. Ari Luyendyk is car number 9, slowing down there. Big crowd on hand on this Saturday afternoon in Vancouver after bad weather yesterday, and Luyendyk has banged into the wall, driving the front right tire up towards the tub. So with about 48 seconds to go in qualifying, Nick Fernaro should be getting out the checkered flag in just a minute. Ari Luyendyk, who is 5th fastest so far. An unfortunate incident for Luyendyk. There's Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. is running 3rd behind Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal.
Now remember, this is the last lap. And get the checkered flag pretty quick. There's yellow around the course right there for Luyendyk. This should be little Al's last lap. The checkered will come out just any minute now.
That is not a full course yellow. That yellow only in the area of Luyendyck's car. Al Unser Jr. is 3rd fastest. Emerson Fittipaldi is now running 4th. We see the starter Nick Fernaro getting ready to unfurl the checkered flag to signal the end of the final day of qualifying. There is the checkered flag as Al Unser Jr. comes up around the north side of BC Place Stadium. Qualifying is over. It will be Michael Andretti on the pole position here in Vancouver for the 2nd year in a row.
Now as I looked, as though Al went by, I saw Bobby Rahal parked back there. So he's probably run out of fuel. Remember, they keep the fuel as light as they can for qualifying. just enough to do about 5 laps and then run out. But I think Bobby ran out too quick.
Al Unser Jr., the defending champion. There's Arie Luyendyk's car in the start-finish straightaway as they signal the end of qualifying. Al Unser Jr., there's Bobby Rahal. He's out of fuel. He will start from the number 2 position for Gallus Craco, but Al Unser Jr., the defending champion, will start from the number 3 position. It's interesting as we look at Arie Luyendyk. 1 year ago, Unser Jr. was only 6th fastest and won this race. So it's all over for qualifying on this Saturday afternoon here in Vancouver. Good weather. Let me run down the top 10 for you. Michael Andretti has the pole position, followed by Bobby Rahal, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, Scott Pruitt, Arie Luyendyk, Rick Mears, John Andretti, Danny Sullivan, and Mario Andretti. Scott Goodyear qualifies 12th. Will return to Vancouver right after this.
Good session.
Good.
Okay.
This was
winds up in 10th position. So Mario's stellar run in the first group turned out to be only the 10th quickest of the day. So it all shapes up very enticingly for tomorrow's Molson Indy Vancouver.
Can you hear Jeff?
What?
Can you hear Jeff? Go ahead. Number 6.
6th this season, 18th career.
well, there's something.
Right.
Very close, very close. Minimal amount of
Down.
fuel on board.
Okay.
Did not even have a chance to make
First
it
time
home.
we've seen the man.
Okay. Okay.
Give me a warning, will you, Billy?
Okay, we're ready to go.
Very disappointing for him, but not anything that it would look like they can't fix overnight at all. They just sort of folded in that right front tire.
Right, I
into
got it.
10th place on the all-time list of poles.
Okay.
Can you hear Brian? Roll. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Just an excellent time here this afternoon. I'll tell you.
Okay, I'm ready. Anytime.
Tomorrow's race. All right, so we got now take a look at the board, David, as we look at unofficial times for tomorrow's race. Yeah, and keeping in mind that these
Congratulations to Michael Andretti, your 18th career pole, your 2nd here at Vancouver. For a while there, it looked like you might have been in trouble.
Yeah, I made a mistake. I was cutting it a little too close with the walls, and I hit the inside wall in turn 3, I think it is, and spun me around and gave me a flat tire. So I only had 1 set to really do my time on, and you know, we were lucky enough to get it going in.
Yeah, and then you were in the pits for an extended period of time as they were working in the back of the car. What was that problem?
Well, they were just checking to make sure that I didn't hurt anything like the wishbones or anything, and again, luckily it was okay.
Okay, and you're looking forward to tomorrow. What's the track going to be like different from today if it's hot and dry, which we don't expect to be hot, but at least dry? You see a difference?
Well, it'll probably get a little bit better than it is today. It was just gaining grip as we went on, and I'm sure it'll gain more grip as we go through the race, but biggest problem is going to be passing. It's going to be very hard.
Okay, it's going to be a tough race. You like the track, though? They've changed it from last year.
I don't like what they did to the track, not really, because it made it harder to pass than it was last year, and last year was one of the more difficult tracks to pass on.
On another note, for you Canadian fans who may not know it, Michael Andretti will be back in IndyCar racing next year. You made that announcement last week, and I'm sure that's affected the morale of you and the team.
Well, I'm happy, and you know, it's nice to get that continuity back, you know, within the team, and you know, now we can all just bear down and try to go for this championship, and then worry about next year.
Okay, congratulations. Good luck tomorrow. Now, congratulations to Bobby Rahal. It looked like it was going to be a little bit tough out there. You had a tough time in practice with the incident with Al, but you came back, and congratulations in 2nd place.
Well, I think the incident this morning looked a lot worse than it really was. I mean, I did that by myself, and Al kind of got involved at a later point, but the car ran well. Today was kind of a guessing game, you know, without much time in the dry. You're kind of hoping that your setup is correct and even your gears. And you know, we just maybe ran out of fuel, maybe 1 lap too early because we had gotten down within a tenth of Michael. But so it's a little disappointing not to get that point yet again. But we're on the front row and the car feels pretty good, and I think we look pretty good for the race.
How does the track feel to you with the changes that they made? And this is really the first time you got to see what it's really like in the dry.
Yeah, I don't mind the changes. I think they're kind of fun and still, know, first turn is definitely fast. We were flat in 5th gear through there, so that's about 160 mile an hour corner right now. So it's you certainly don't want anything to go wrong there, but I enjoy this circuit. It's tough to pass here, so grid position is very important, and we're just glad to be where we are.
Okay, it's going to be a good race tomorrow. Absolutely. Thank you, Bobby. Good luck.
Thank you, Sally. I'm here with Scott Goodyear, who qualified 12th. Scott 3rd yesterday in the rain, and this morning in practice you didn't really get a chance to run on dry, so basically how did it look to you today? You didn't really have the setup you wanted?
No, we certainly didn't, and I think we paid for it in this session. We came in, did some spring change and some other chassis work, and we just fell a little bit behind today because we didn't get the last 5 or 6 laps this morning in the first session when it started to dry out, and I think it really cost us a little bit, but hopefully we'll get it all worked out for tomorrow.
I know your team sponsor, Jim O'Donnell, calls rain the Chevrolet equalizing cream.
Mm-hmm.
You hoping for rain tomorrow?
Well, I think we'll take it any way we can get it, and I think it'd be a safer race if it was dry. But so far, with the way things have going, we're we're running well in the rain and seem to be right up there in the first couple of rows. But we're starting 12th tomorrow, so I think I'd rather see a dry race and have to start from back there in the wet. A lot of things can happen.
You have that Chevy engine coming next year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you long for it today?
Well, certainly. I think without a doubt. The track has changed a little bit, and we have to address our car to make sure it works with the track, and horsepower always is a help. So it's not going to come until the beginning of next year, but we'd certainly take it today.
And you'll take it tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow, Scott.
Thanks.
Okay. We send it back upstairs now to Brian.
Thank you very much, Brian, and I am with Canadian John Jones, and you finished 7th in this first half of the qualifying session, and as you said a little earlier, it really doesn't mean much because the fast guys are going out. You weren't very happy with the performance of the car. I could see that when you came in. What was the problem?
Well, we're struggling a lot with the gearbox. It's just jumping out of 5th gear on me. Anytime I hit a bump on the track, or if I back, just lift out of the throttle a little bit, it'll jump out of gear, and I'm carrying 5th through turn 1 and just breathe the throttle, and then all of a sudden it jumps out of gear and you got no drive, so it's like the car just has a tendency to go straight on instead of steer around. So it's going to be a big handful, and everywhere on the track, I'm just struggling with the gearbox, so I'm not able to get it going quick at all. So we're nowhere near what we should be, but we'll try to carry it for tomorrow.
This car has been a big handful for you since Cleveland, where you actually got back into IndyCar racing. You've taken an 89 Lola with a Buick engine. You've really done well. You've been consistent with it. A 10th at Toronto, an 8th at Michigan. You've got to be pretty happy with your performance considering the car, and I see you smiling. I think you are.
Yeah, the team's very pleased, and I'm pleased. Obviously, it's difficult to compete at the front when you don't have similar equipment, and we're just have to go out and do the best we can all the time and run hard, run our own race, and we've done that. We've been consistent, and it really has paid off. So it's good, and the team, we're just looking towards next year, building, trying to get the proper funding to really do well. And as you see, the car's fairly plain at the moment. We don't have a lot of sponsorship on it, so we're obviously looking, and the better I do, the better the team and I do. There's hopefully people out there that are going to see that and want to get involved. And this qualifying, it's just been a little frustrating with the gearbox problem, but it's something that does happen and it can be corrected for tomorrow.
And we know that a lot of fans wish you well, and we do too. Back to you, Brian.